All right, let's dive into some AI news for February 8th, 2025. We've got articles, Discord discussions, and even some interesting tweets to unpack today.
Sounds like a pretty diverse mix. What are some of the highlights?
Well, DeepSeek is making a lot of noise in the open source AI community.
Yeah, DeepSeek R1's been getting a ton of attention, hasn't it? It's only been around for what, 3 weeks? Surpassed OpenAI in GitHub stars already. Pretty impressive for a newcomer.
It seems like developers are really drawn to its transparency and accessibility.
Absolutely. But it's not all been smooth sailing. Remember that security scare with their iOS app?
Right. Now, Secure found some vulnerabilities that could have exposed user data.
Exactly. It's a good reminder that open source doesn't automatically mean secure. Responsible development and rigorous security practices are crucial no matter what.
Especially with AI tools becoming more powerful and handling more of our personal data.
Couldn't agree more. It's a conversation the whole AI community needs to be having.
Okay, moving on to something a bit less ominous. What's the latest with Dolphin 3.0? They've been pretty secretive about the specifics.
It's true. The launch of Dolphin 3.0 R1 Mistral 24B definitely got people talking, but the lack of details is driving some folks crazy.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty wild speculation on the Discord servers. Some think it's a Qwen 2.5 coder 32B instruct competitor.
There are definitely some similarities, but one thing that stands out is Dolphin's approach to AI disclaimers. It's like they're moving away from that whole "I'm just a language model" thing.
Interesting. It seems like AI developers are getting more confident in their creations, but also maybe blurring the lines a bit.
Possibly. It raises questions about how users perceive these models, like are they tools or something more?
And what about Dolphin 3.0's performance? Any hints there?
Well, the word on the street is that it's incredibly efficient. Apparently, it can run smoothly on systems with just 16 gigabytes of VRAM.
That would be a huge win for accessibility. But the lack of transparency about its dataset and training methods is a bit concerning.
Definitely raises some questions about potential biases and ethical implications.
Okay, let's talk about Gemini, Google's big AI project. Their claims about its multimodal capabilities, especially with image generation, are pretty bold.
Gemini's image generation is definitely turning heads, and giving early access to Imagen 3 is a smart move on their part.
And then there's Gemini 2.0 Flash, which can analyze YouTube videos. That's wild.
It really is, but as with a lot of Google projects, there's a lot of wait and see involved. API integration is still a bit of a mystery, and there's a lot of debate about its code execution capabilities.
Yeah, particularly with OpenRouter. Some developers are frustrated with the lack of clarity.
Classic Google, right? Tease us with amazing tech, and then make us wait to actually use it.
Speaking of exciting tech, let's talk about that Cerebras and Mistral partnership. It seems like specialized hardware is becoming a major force in AI.
Absolutely. Cerebras is achieving some insane speed with Mistral's Lit Chat. Did you see the benchmarks?
1,100 tokens per second on the Mistral Large 2 model. That's mind-blowing. 10 times faster than ChatGPT 4.0.
The possibilities are pretty exciting, but of course there's the accessibility issue. Cerebras systems are not exactly budget-friendly.
True. High-performance AI can't just be for the elite, right?
Definitely not. It's a challenge the industry needs to address.
Okay, before we move on, let's circle back to OpenAI for a minute. It seems they've felt the heat from the open source community.
Oh yeah, DeepSeek's success definitely got their attention. They just updated their chain of thought feature in O3 Mini for both free and paid users, which is interesting.
It makes you wonder if they're truly embracing open source or just trying to play catch up.
Right. Some people think they're still holding back the real Sooty, the transparency issue again.
It's a crucial question for the future of AI. Will it be open collaboration or closed proprietary systems?
A question for the ages, it seems. So, ready to dive into some more AI news?
Absolutely. What's next?
Well, let's step away from the big players for a minute and talk about something a little different. Have you heard of Kokoro Web GPU?
Kokoro Web GPU. I'm not sure.
So imagine a website that can talk to you, not just text on a page, but actual speech. That's what Kokoro Web GPU is all about.
Okay, that sounds interesting. Tell me more.
It's a text-to-speech model that's designed to work with Web GPU. That's a new tech that lets developers use the power of your computer's graphics card right in your web browser.
So AI running right in my browser. No need for fancy software or anything.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it. It makes AI much more accessible. Think about websites that can read articles aloud to you or virtual assistants that live right in your browser.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But can a web browser really handle something as complex as AI?
Well, it depends on the complexity of the model and the power of your computer, but WebGPU lets developers use the parallel processing power of GPUs, which are really good at AI stuff.
So it's like using the same tech that gives us those awesome graphics in video games, but for AI.
Exactly. And the early tests are showing some really impressive speed improvements compared to using a CPU.
So WebGPU is definitely something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. I think we're just scratching the surface of what's possible with AI in the browser.
Okay, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about the QOpt LP solver.
Ah, QOpt. This is a great example of how AI can solve real-world problems. It's a linear programming solver, which means it finds the best solution to a problem given certain limitations.
Linear programming. Sounds a bit like math class.
It is a bit mathy, but think about it like this. Let's say you're a company with a fleet of delivery trucks. You need to figure out the most efficient routes to save time and money.
Okay, I see. So QOpt can help companies be more efficient and profitable.
Right. But it's not just about businesses. It can be used for things like optimizing energy distribution networks or figuring out the best routes for ambulances in an emergency.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. But what makes QOpt so special?
It's incredibly fast. It uses GPUs to crunch through calculations way faster than traditional methods, like over 5,000 times faster.
5,000 times. That's insane. What does that kind of speed mean in practice?
It means companies can make decisions faster, react to changes quickly, and become much more competitive.
It definitely sounds like a game changer. But you mentioned something earlier, a fused switchy OU kernel. What is that?
That's a bit technical. But basically, it's a new way of doing a specific calculation that's used in a lot of AI models.
And the benefit is?
Speed and efficiency. It can do this calculation much faster and using less memory than older methods. That means faster training times and the ability to run complex models on less powerful hardware.
So it's making AI faster and more accessible.
Exactly.
I'm noticing a theme here. Faster, more efficient, more accessible. That seems to be the goal for a lot of these new developments.
It's a good goal to have. AI should be something that benefits everyone, not just a select few.
All right, on to the final part of our AI news roundup. What thought-provoking stories did you save for last?
Well, let's talk about limo. It's challenging some of the common assumptions about how we train AI.
Limo. I'm not familiar with that one. What's so special about it?
Limo is all about data efficiency. You know how AI models usually need tons and tons of data to learn effectively?
Yeah, that's always been a major hurdle.
Well, Limo's showing us that you can actually get amazing results with way less data.
Okay, less data is always good news. But how much less are we talking about here?
Get this. It scored 57.1% on the AM math competition and 94.8% on the math dataset.
Those are really good scores. But how much data did it need to achieve that?
Only 817 training samples.
817. That's practically nothing. Most models need millions or even billions of data points. How is that even possible?
It's pretty remarkable, isn't it? Researchers think that Limo is really good at something called out-of-distribution generalization. Basically, it can learn from a small, carefully selected data set and then apply that knowledge to a bunch of different problems.
So it's like a super learner that can connect the dots in a way that other models can't.
Exactly. And the implications are huge. Imagine being able to train really powerful AI models without needing massive amounts of data. It could make AI development so much faster, cheaper, and easier for researchers who don't have access to those kinds of resources.
It sounds almost too good to be true. Are there any potential downsides to this approach?
Well, one concern is that even a small data set can have biases if it's not carefully put together. So it's super important to make sure the data is high quality and representative.
That makes sense. We can't forget about ethics, even with less data involved.
Absolutely. Responsible AI development always needs to consider where the data comes from and what biases it might contain.
Okay, on that note, I saw some headlines about another security breach, this time with OpenAI.
Yeah, it seems like millions of OpenAI user logins might have been compromised.
It's a reminder that even the biggest companies aren't immune to these kinds of attacks.
And it highlights how important strong security measures are, especially as AI gets more integrated into our lives. We trust these companies with so much of our personal information, so they need to take data security very seriously.
It's like the saying, with great power comes great responsibility. That applies to both the companies developing these technologies and to us as users.
Well said. As AI keeps evolving, we need to be talking about security, privacy, and responsible development.
I couldn't agree more. So as we wrap up this AI news roundup, what are the key takeaways you want our listeners to remember?
I think the biggest takeaway is that AI is a rapidly changing field. We're seeing groundbreaking advancements, but we're also facing new challenges and ethical questions.
It's a really exciting, but also sometimes unsettling time to be following AI.
Definitely. That's why it's so important to stay informed, be curious, and engage in thoughtful discussions about the future of AI. This technology is going to have a huge impact on our world, and we all have a role to play in shaping that future.
Well said. And with that, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of AI news. Thanks for joining us.
It's been great exploring these developments with you.
And to our listeners, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those questions coming. Until next time.